Ever wonder what separates the good from the truly great? What gives certain individuals that unstoppable edge?
Well, today we are doing a deep dive into the mind of Tim Grover to hopefully find out.
Yeah, we're going deep into his book, Relentless, where he lays out this philosophy from like decades of training these elite athletes and, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, these guys.
We're talking about really pushing past limits here, embracing a certain, I don't know, intensity maybe to reach the peak of your game. And Grover, he doesn't really sugarcoat it. He introduces this concept of cleaners.
And this isn't about like keeping your house tidy or anything.
Right.
Cleaners are those individuals, the ones who dominate, who just have this, I don't know, almost supernatural ability to achieve success.
Right, so you've got me hooked. What exactly makes a cleaner different from your average person then? So it's not just raw talent, although, I mean, that plays a part. It's more about a specific, I guess you'd say, psychological makeup.
Okay.
Grover says these cleaners have this, like, relentless drive, this almost unsettling hunger to win, you know?
Okay.
They get that to reach the top. You can't shy away from what he calls the dark side.
Dark side.
Okay.
So that sounds kind of ominous. Can you unpack that a little? What does he mean exactly?
Well, he's not talking about like being malicious or anything like that. Where
Mm.
Grover's getting at is tapping into that primal drive, that inner force I think we suppress it to fit in, to be good.
Sure.
But cleaners, they acknowledge it, that force, and they learn to harness it. It's like almost like this fire inside of them, fueling their ambition and their focus.
So it's about embracing that intensity.
Exactly, yeah. Grover gives this example, and it's kind of wild, of Michael Jordan walking into the opponent's locker room before a game, like just to intimidate them.
Really? Wow. I mean, I've heard the stories about his, legendary competitive spirit, but wow, that's next level.
It might sound extreme, but that's the kind of mental edge Grover's talking about. Cleaners, they understand the power of psychology.
Mm.
They're not just playing the game, they're controlling the whole narrative, the environment, even their opponent's state of mind.
That's incredible. It's like they're playing 3D chess while everyone else is, I don't know, stuck on checkers or something. But beyond, like, these almost power moves, what's really at the core of this whole cleaner mindset?
I think it really boils down to self-reliance. Grover believes you have to trust your instincts above everything else.
Interesting. So not just like relying on others' opinions or, overthinking every little decision.
You got it.
Yeah.
He talks about how most people, they get so paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice.
Yeah.
But cleaners, they act. They trust their gut, informed by experience, of course, and they make these bold decisions. And, that kind of ties into this idea of not just being good, but being kind of bad in a way.
Okay, yeah. We've kind of danced around this whole bad thing a couple times now. Hit me with it. What's the deal with cleaners being bad?
So it's about reclaiming that raw, like primal drive we were talking about.
Yeah.
Grover argues that, honestly, we're all born bad.
Okay.
And not like in a morally wrong way,
Right.
but in the sense that we're naturally, selfish,
Yeah.
driven by our desires.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I mean, babies aren't exactly like known for their selflessness, are they?
Exactly. It's only later that we learn to like suppress those urges,
Yeah.
be good,
Yeah.
conform
Right.
to these societal expectations and all that. But cleaners, they haven't completely buried that primal instinct.
Interesting.
They've learned to channel it.
So it's almost like they've like tamed the beast, but they haven't put it in a cage. You know what I mean? They know how to kind of unleash it when they need to.
Precisely. And Grover argues that this beast, this darker side, that's actually where a lot of their power lies. It's the source of their, relentless drive, their unwavering focus.
Okay, but that sounds like a little bit of a tightrope walk, right? Like how do you tap into that intensity without letting it control you, without it going too far? Because, there's a fine line between being driven and being, I don't know, reckless, right?
Yeah. And that's where self-awareness comes in.
Okay.
Grover emphasizes that cleaners, they aren't ruled by their emotions. They understand their dark side, they acknowledge it,
Yeah.
but they don't let it, like, control them.
So it's about like having your hand on the throttle, you're not just letting the engine run wild.
Exactly. It's like the difference between a controlled burn and like a wildfire.
Right.
Cleaners, they use that intensity strategically, like a precision instrument, to fuel that ambition and that focus.
It makes you think about someone like Tiger Woods, like incredible, like intimidating focus on the golf course. But I mean, there was that very public scandal, and it seemed like that intensity kind of spilled over into his personal life in a not so great way.
Yeah, and that's a cautionary tale, isn't it? It really highlights that importance of balance, of self-control.
For sure.
Like Grover says, cleaners, they don't celebrate their achievements because they always want more,
Right.
but they don't let that desire consume them.
Right.
They know when to pull back, when to like refocus that energy.
So this relentless pursuit of more, of being better, it can't come at the cost of everything else in your life.
Exactly. It's about finding that equilibrium, which actually brings us to another key aspect of the whole cleaner mindset,
Yeah.
trusting your instincts. Grover says, one of the biggest obstacles to success is overthinking, second-guessing yourself.
Oh, yeah. No, I can definitely relate to that one. Analysis paralysis is like a real thing.
Right. And Grover argues that cleaners cut through all that noise.
Okay.
They don't dwell on the what ifs or the maybes.
Yeah.
They just make a decision and they commit.
Interesting.
They trust their gut.
But what happens? So, like, what happens when that gut instinct leads to a mistake? Because, I mean, even the best athletes, the most successful people, they make wrong calls sometimes, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Grover acknowledges that. He's not saying cleaners are infallible.
Okay.
He's saying they're decisive.
Okay.
They understand that making a decision, even if it's not the perfect one, it's better than being paralyzed by indecision.
So it's about being, like, comfortable with that risk,
Yeah,
with the possibility of, being wrong.
exactly. Because even mistakes, those are opportunities for growth. Cleaners, they don't like dwell on failure. They
Right.
analyze it, they learn from it, and they adapt. They become more resilient, more adaptable with every decision that they make.
So we talked about this intense drive, the self-reliance, that ability to make those quick decisions, but like, is there a framework for all of this? It can't just be about raw intensity, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not all just willpower. Grover actually lays out a sort of blueprint, like, I don't know, outlining 13 characteristics of these cleaners. Yeah, he calls them the Relentless 13.
Okay, so it's like a code or something, like a set of guiding principles for this mindset.
Hmm.
So what are some of the, I don't know, like the highlights?
So one that really stood out to me was it's about pushing beyond what anyone else would consider reasonable. Like these cleaners have this incredible endurance, physically and mentally. They're willing to go that extra mile, when everyone else is ready to just call it quits.
There's that no shortcuts thing again.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not even just about, outworking everyone. It's about being decisive too. Like Grover says, cleaners don't waste time with endless deliberation or, seeking validation. They trust their gut, they make that decision, and they own it.
So action over endless debate, basically.
Precisely. They're not afraid to be the ones who, like, make the tough calls to lead from the front, even if it means ruffling a few feathers on the way.
Which, goes back to that whole being feared thing we were talking about before.
Totally. Grover actually says cleaners would rather be respected than liked. They're not here for a popularity contest. They are laser focused on those results.
Reminds me of that story about, I think it was a player who told Grover, "You're the biggest asshole I know."
Right. And Grover's response,
Let me guess.
I was giving you a compliment. Classic. It just shows that unshakable confidence, that unwavering belief in their methods.
Yeah, they have that inner conviction that just drives them forward, even when it's tough. But it's not all just about individual drive, though, right? What about teamwork, collaboration? How does that fit in?
So Grover doesn't dismiss teamwork completely, but he definitely sees it through I guess you could say, a different lens. For a cleaner, it's not about finding people to like lean on. It's about surrounding yourself with those who can actually, elevate your game. He actually says cleaners don't compete with anyone. You find your opponent's weakness and you attack.
So it's more about pushing each other, demanding that excellence, not shying away from that, healthy competition.
You got it. And that actually ties into the whole leadership aspect of this whole philosophy.
Yeah.
Grover says cleaners don't just raise their own game, they elevate everyone around them.
It's like Michael Jordan pushing his teammates to be better, to reach his level.
Right. It's about setting a high bar, creating a culture of excellence, and really like inspiring others to rise to the challenge.
So much to unpack here. For you, I don't know, like what was your biggest takeaway from this whole deep dive into Grover's philosophy?
Honestly, it's the emphasis on self-reliance for me. That whole idea that like you control your body, it does not control you. whether it's, facing a physical challenge, a tough decision, even like your own self-doubt. It's about taking control, becoming the architect of your own success.
That is such a powerful message, realizing you have more, I don't know, agency strength
Yeah,
than you often give yourself credit for.
exactly. And that is incredibly empowering no matter like what your field is, what your goals are.
So, as our listener is out there navigating their day, what's the one question you think Grover would want them to be asking themselves after this deep dive?
I think you'd ask, what's that one thing you've been putting off, that thing you know you need to do, but you just keep letting fear or doubt hold you back? Like, what's one step you can take today to move towards that goal?
No more excuses. Time to get relentless. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.